look at all these men, successful, amazing men. And I bet a lot of them are more successful or less successful, either way, because of the impact of their spouses if they're married.
Today we had Shane and Andrea Wilde on the Bigger Life podcast. They dropped a lot of value bombs on us today. We talked about all of the amazing ways that they've made pivots to their entrepreneurial journey. They have an awesome marriage and an awesome ambition. Shane does luxury real estate and Andrea runs the Live Big Collective, which is an organization for ambitious women and women that are running their businesses and or married to men that are entrepreneurs as well. So we're having them over tonight. Me and Lauren have grown to love them. We have lots of good memories of staying up, talking all night and growing our relationship. So I wanted to share them with you while they're in town for the mastermind. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. For a while to do this podcast because you guys were going to come to town today. So why don't you tell the audience what brought you to town?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Want me to start? Okay.
It's all you. You're the reason we're in town.
So yeah, I own a company called the Live Big Collective, and we help wives of successful entrepreneurs, specifically in Utah, with coaching, and we do girls' nights once a month and retreats. So the last time I was down here, we were doing a retreat in St. George, but we have different chapters. So we have one in northern Utah, like Cache Valley area, and then Utah County, and this is top secret, but we're opening St. George.
What? You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're having a couples night, pickleball couples night, and I'm so excited. Yeah, I get to network with a bunch of different entrepreneur couples and all that stuff. So we're excited to have you and Lauren. It'll be so fun.
We're pumped. Like, Andrea texted me, she's like, what day can you do this? I like spit back a couple days really fast, and I was the first one to sign up.
Yes, you were, like within minutes. So I was like, yeah, Ben.
I'm the biggest fan of you guys, okay?
You're so nice.
And spoiler alert, just for the people on the podcast, our name was our original name was going to be the Santa Clara Swingers, but we didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
Especially in Utah.
So especially in Utah with the, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives going on. So we changed our name to the Swingin' Pickles.
Yes.
I feel like that's much more appropriate.
Pickles.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what ours is tonight?
I think the people, even though
do they need to hear?
Because this will be time release, so it won't spoil it for our event tonight.
Yes, you'll hear it later.
What's our name, babe?
The Real Big Dill, like DILL.
Okay.
And then
and
hashtag pickleball.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Pickleball, all caps.
Real big deals.
Real big deals. And so it sounds like a Utah accent instead of deal, the Real Big Dill.
Okay.
So
people are going to love it.
You heard it first.
And you guys have matching outfits ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We spaced the outfit, but I think I can whip up something enough that it has a little bit of a... No, so I'll say that for you. It's a surprise.
Okay, that's a surprise.
But thanks for being here. Yes.
Thanks for having us.
I mean, these guys are serial entrepreneurs, tons of value. In fact, we thought about splitting you up because I feel like I could do a couple hours, not that we're going to go that long, but I could go deep with either or. So we'll have to see if this is going to be a 2-part episode or just people are going to get more than they paid for when they're listening. But that's the type of value that this power couple brings, Micah. So you thinking of how we're gonna do this, because the people just can't handle 2 at once. But serial entrepreneurs. Shane does luxury real estate. Andrew runs the Live Big Collective, which we have to say that this podcast did not plagiarize. She could probably sue us for all we're worth because the Bigger Life podcast is just. But that's when you boil it down, that's what it comes down to, right?
Living big.
How'd you come up with that? What was your inspiration?
So originally my company was called Live Big Little Girl, and I coached women all over the country, and it was through like transition periods of life of just like instead of dreaming big, you want to actually live big. And so then when we just had a transformation this last 6 months, so I just called it the Live Big Collective. But yeah, I love that that's what you're all about too. It aligns perfectly.
And I'll add as well, there's a really cool acronym that she teaches. So LIVEBIG, and maybe you'll get into this a little bit later, but her part of her daily routine is her Live Big morning, is what she calls it, and it's the little things that she'll do every day. And so it kind of, people who follow her program it really just helps them to literally live bigger, which is really cool. And so it's infused, like the name, it's one thing to have a name for your company, but another thing to like infuse it into your customers and clients day after day after day, which is really cool. And it's something that everyone can benefit from, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Faye.
Let's put a pin in that. We're not going to wrap this up without getting into the acronym, but I want to also just back up to how we connected. I think we had crossed paths before, but we really hit it off in January in Vegas when we did the couples goal setting retreat. And me and Lauren stayed up with these guys till like, I don't know, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like we were the last ones awake. And that's how much fun we were having.
That's how you know you're old. You stay up till 1
And
a.m.
we're like,
and you're
"It's
like,
so
man,
late."
that was crazy.
And we were dying because you guys have young kids. We have young kids. And so it was
Yes.
like, we're still acclimating.
Yes,
But
we're like 8:45ers go to bed. So 1 a.m. that says how much we love
pushing.
you
Shows you
guys
how much
too.
fun we were having.
Yes.
But I mean, we caught up and we heard so many amazing things that we could dive into. But I mean, have you, like, I think it's relevant for the audience. Your marriage, did you know before you got married that your lives were going to take such an entrepreneurial turn?
How do you want to answer that?
Yeah.
I'll let you answer first.
Okay.
Because I think you have and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
But I think I know what you will say.
Yeah. I started my first business was when I was 14.
Yeah.
I had I called it kids camp, and all the kids I babysat throughout the year, because I'm the oldest of 6 kids, I brought together and did a theme each day for all the kids, and had the parents sign the waivers so they could jump on the trampoline, the whole thing, you know. I love the clipboard, all the things. And so that was my first, I hired my sisters. I took a loan from my parents to pay for the things, but I made really good money. And as a 14-year-old, you know, and I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was cool, you know? And so I have always been an entrepreneur since I was little, you know, do the cookie sales and the lemonade stands and mow the lawns, all the things. And so when I met Shane, he was actually we met at Utah State, so go Aggies. And we met when he was going to he was in the biological engineering program. And so my dad's an engineer, so it's just oh yeah, that works, you know. Cool. But then
that's interesting though, because your dad, your parents had to raise you a certain way to give you a loan and say, go out and do this.
Yes.
So that's cool that your dad, even though he has that engineering background, he gave you that entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, totally. So yeah,
he's in the engineering program.
Yeah, I thought that that worked. You know, I didn't realize that I wanted to marry an entrepreneur, that was important. But then Shane is actually very entrepreneurial, but he wasn't raised at all that way. And so anyway, it was cool because then we ended up both graduating from business administration, and he can share that side of how he got to that. But I always knew I'd be an entrepreneur, but I always say if let's say Shane, I had to get remarried for whatever reason, I would look for someone exactly like Shane who does have an entrepreneurial spirit. I just didn't know that was such a high priority for me when I was looking for someone to marry. Did that even make sense?
Yeah. And I'm like you mentioned, I'm an engineering dropout. I quickly realized that I didn't love that and got into business. I had started a couple companies in college, but I never knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur until I kind of stumbled upon a couple things and kind of dabbled here and there. So Andrea was definitely the entrepreneurial spirit. And it's funny because looking back, I come from a super small town, a little farming town. I thought that I was going to marry like cowgirl and everything. And Andrea is from Portland, Oregon, city girl. And so it's funny
She's
that
disrupting
all
that.
over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. It's funny how our lives just kind of meshed, and I think it's been amazing how two entrepreneurs have been able to come together, and we've been able to make our life. Our conversations are probably like our date night conversations are usually about business.
Or it's like a boardroom meeting.
Yeah, totally.
And
We're like,
I
we
don't
should
know,
probably like
yeah, it's
flirt
like,
or
okay,
something.
here's what's wrong with your business.
No.
But I guess what I want to point out is it's worked really well for us. We have our challenges as well with that, because as two entrepreneurs, I mean, you know, like just trying to grow your business and throwing all the money that you can at it, throwing all the time that you can at it. We have two young girls right now, and there's a ton of challenges in between just those few things I just mentioned, right? And so that's worked for us. We've made it work, but it doesn't mean that every couple has to be an entrepreneur couple, right? But it's been amazing for us, and I would go out on a limb to say that most entrepreneurs don't marry an entrepreneur as well, right? But it's been fun. So here we are.
That. It's super fun.
11 years later, and probably how many businesses later?
Yeah, I don't even
Quite
know.
a few.
Probably
Some-
just as many.
Yeah,
probably
totally.
just as many.
Yeah.
We've been successful at some and not so successful at some too. So.
Well, we got to talk about the highs and lows, but it's fun to hear about the origin story. Utah State. Were you guys true Aggies or ultimate Aggies?
I am
what
not an
that means,
ultimate
Micah?
Aggie, unfortunately.
You're an ultimate?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Are you ultimate?
No.
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 Tell Micah what it is. You know Micah?
So an
Okay.
ultimate Aggie, right?
Talk
by
about
the-
the true Aggie.
Start with true Aggie first.
True Aggie is at night on a full moon. They have this little statue of an A that people stand on top of this A and kiss.
It's
So
like
if you-
true Aggie night, and you get like a little card that says like you're a true
Like-
Aggie.
And a lot of times people just get in line. Like you have two lines and people just get in line. Boys on one side, girls on the other side. And it's like a roulette type of thing. Like you're just like, well,
It's
all right.
A beautiful primal thing.
Yes.
Just a cesspool
So-
of kissing going on.
Yeah. Yes.
Lots of kissing, and sometimes there's some making out in the corner. Pretty
Can't
crazy.
tell him ultimate
Then an
Aggie.
ultimate Aggie, there is an Aggie, a bull, on the corner, a statue of a bull on the corner of the football stadium,
Of campus. Yeah.
and you have to ride it naked, essentially.
I'm like, I don't want to get any sort
To
of.
be able to
I pegged them
be-
both as ultimate Aggies.
No way.
To be an ultimate Aggie, and it was a stamp of pride if you were an ultimate Aggie,
Oh
but
man.
we're not. I'm not that risky.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I had
We're
to-
risky.
I had to
I would
digress.
say we're very risky, but not
Not when
that
it comes
risky.
to STDs. or
Okay,
whatever.
okay. You didn't want to ride the bull after the person that you watched go
Yeah.
before you.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I just had to digress.
No,
when you said go
you had to
Aggies, I just
ask.
can't think of anything else.
Oh my gosh, Ben, I love you.
But I love it. I love the journey. Okay, we talked about highs and lows. At least give us one really early lesson, or let's not call it a failure, but like a moment where you're like, wow, maybe this double entrepreneur life is not going to be like the route for us. Or was that never even a question?
Oh. Well, I just feel like it's a roller coaster, right? Like that. If you've read that book, The Entrepreneurship Roller Coaster, it's like, I just feel like you feel that sometimes even within a day. You're like, this is the best. Like, I love my life. I can't think of anything else. And then even within the same day, you're like, what am I doing? Like, why did I show up for this, you know? I do remember we owned a window cleaning company that we actually sold it a few years ago. And we had a branch down here in St. George. So that we had a few branches throughout.
And you're living
up in
Salt Lake County, Utah County?
No, we were up
Logan.
in Cache Valley.
Oh, you're still in Logan.
Yeah, we lived there for like till 3 years ago. So yeah, not very.
You were clear up there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I was going to meet up with Shane. I don't know if you even know this. I was going to meet up with Shane we had to fill in because we didn't have enough employees or whatever. And we were going to a construction site. And I remember like I was going to help clean windows or construction clean. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was really sloshy and gross in the winter, and I kind of slipped and like hit my foot on some, I don't even know what it was, rebar, yeah. And I was like bleeding, and earlier that day I had cried about something with the business, and I just remember sitting there being like, I have bled now, blood, sweat, and tears for this business, and all in one day. And I just remember being like, okay, like this sucks so bad, and I still have a scar from it. But I just remember thinking like, okay, even though this really sucks, like I hate this, I don't want to be out here cleaning in the middle of winter, and it's all these terrible things. I was like, but I still get to do whatever I want. Like there was like that freedom that I was like, I get to do this, even though it feels like I have to. It was like a choice in that moment where it's like, I don't actually have to be here, but I'm choosing to be here because I love this business. I love doing this with my husband and my brother. At the time we had started it all together. Like, I love this, even though I hate this right now. It's like such a weird dichotomy of, where you can feel two feelings at once. So that was a random time that just popped into my head. But I have blood, sweat, and tears for almost all of my businesses,
Yeah, you have to have a certain pain tolerance to a stress tolerance, right? And that's why not everyone wants it, and it's not the right move for everybody, but definitely you have those moments where you have to get kicked in the teeth, and if you get back up, you're an entrepreneur.
Totally, yes.
So
we all have to have like a little bit of a screw loose, I think, like to be in this life. It's a little crazy. But do you have one you can think of?
No. I mean, I'm sure it'll come, but I think, as Andrea was talking about that, I was thinking about like, so I went to college. I had some businesses in college, but I had a W-2 up until 2020, right when COVID started. I was already in the works of trying to quit my job and go out and be a real entrepreneur, right? Instead of just like a side hustle type of thing. And that was a really hard thing to like make a move. And I've told this story a lot, but I love Jim Rohn. If you've heard of Jim Rohn before, if any of the listeners have. Jim Rohn, he has this quote that says, "For things to change, you must change." And that stuck with me so hard at that moment. I felt like I was in golden handcuffs. I had a great W-2 on paper.
Yeah. You had all the things.
I had all the things. I flew to the Midwest. We had a private jet.
Was this tech, sales?
Yeah, I was in sales. I was on the wholesale side of furniture.
Okay. We talked about that.
A mattress company, and great company, by the way. But I feel like I had golden handcuffs.
Yes.
But on the outside, I had a great. Like I was saying, we had a private jet. I'd literally like drive out onto the tarmac, get on the plane. I'd be in Kansas City in like an hour and a half. And
they get you with the jet.
They would like pay for, like, we had a gym, we had meals, we had everything, right? But I felt like I was like dying, and I didn't want to. Andrea sent me a video of our daughter rolling over for the first time, and I was like, I don't want to be the dad that misses all of those things, right?
Yeah.
So that was what really kick-started my entrepreneurial journey, was I'm going to be the dad that's there for all of these things. Like, look at us right now, where it's a Tuesday afternoon, right? At 3:00.
Yeah.
And I'm in St. George able to do this, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't be able to do that. And not that I'm boasting or anything, but I was determined to get out of that scene so that I could be here and be present with our girls. And so that's kind of like my life's motto. I never realized, I mean, you never realize how much you love your kids till you have some, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like once we had her, and I got that little teeny feeling or little taste of not being able to be there with my daughter, right? Or missing some of those firsts, that I wasn't going to do that. So,
That I gotta say, that's kind of interesting to me that, so you had your first daughter, you're still working that job.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they actually do the opposite, where a lot of people, once they have that wife and kids, that's when the golden handcuffs are starting to be really strong.
Tight. Yeah.
Because there's a lot on the line. Like, honestly, like, I attribute a ton of my success to a head start I got while I was single.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, question if I could have, taken the risk. Like, now I'm comfortable with it, right? But like, at the time, it's like, no wife, no kids, low asymmetrical risk, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of, I think I had a privilege there, and I would, I wish everybody had that, but that actually like paused me when you're like, no, once I had the kid, it actually like pushed me to take the risk. And I hope that there's a listener that can actually zoom in on that and say like, oh, because I have a wife and kids, I have a lot on the line. Having a lot on the line is the reason you do take the risk, not the reason you retreat from the risk.
Yeah.
If it's in your heart, right?
Totally.
So
That just gave me
do you have
chills.
any advice for someone that's in your shoes right now?
I think, yes. And I think something that really helped was Andrea was already had that entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yeah, that's...
And Andrea is really good, and maybe this could be the advice part, is she helped me to kind of take a step back and say, what's the worst case scenario here?
I like that.
And that question, I feel like time and time again, I come back to, okay, if I have to make this big decision, what's the worst case scenario here? And so looking at it, our worst case scenario was we had saved up a little bit of money to be able to pay our expenses, right? But worst case scenario was, in the end, I go back and get another W-2 job at a different company. Yeah. Like I had to get to that. And so you think of the consequences, you're like, I'm really going to take this leap. And what about my family? What about my kids? Well, yeah, what if you take that, and let's say that you fall flat on your face, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to run out of your 6 months of money pretty quick. Yep. You're probably going to look dumb in front of your friends. Your parents are probably going to call you up and ask you what the heck you're doing, right? Like all of these things, yeah. But
you're not going to die.
You're not going to die.
Yes.
You still have your house. You still have your friends. You still have your relationships. You still have your daughter that you wanted to quit for in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And once I could kind of
go to the darkest place,
yeah,
and then come back,
and then come back. So the worst case scenario, I remember exactly where we were, what we were doing when we were talking about that. And the worst case scenario was, well, I guess you just look like an idiot and you go get another W-2 job. And that was that.
The same thing that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, what a blessing and a privilege that, like, we live in a country even that we have the options to say exactly what you're saying. Like, the worst thing that could happen to me is I'm in the same spot that I am right now. But, like, what if? Like what could happen if
Yeah.
you just take a chance on yourself. And then it's like, I love that you just brought up today, because like Shane played with our girls we have a house down here in our pool for like 2 hours today, like you said, on a Tuesday afternoon that we like drove down here. And yeah, he was on the phone on the way down here. I worked a little bit, all the things, but like, yeah, our life is not perfect, but like this is like ultimately what we want, is the time freedom to be able to do whatever. And it was cool to watch Shane like lean into himself. Does that make sense? Like that he like was like, okay, I'm gonna take this leap. And so we did an educated risk, right? Where we're like, okay, we're gonna save up 6 months of expenses. So if you don't make a single dollar in the next 6 months, like we'll be fine, you know? But at that time, like it pushed me to do better in my businesses. And then it was cool because the next month Shane made more than like half his annual salary, like in a month.
In 1 month?
Yeah.
The very next month?
Yes. Which his salary wasn't like huge
business?
before, but real estate.
In real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was your most recent pivot into you were a realtor. Now you're in luxury real estate, but this is just getting your license and hustling.
Just being in and hustling.
Being an agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love
just
it.
like going all in. And sometimes that happens when I think.
Good year to do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Actually timed it perfectly.
But a lot of things were unknown. It was May 28th. 2020. That's like a holiday in our house. We like literally celebrate that.
Day before my birthday.
Oh, nice.
So
we know.
Next time you can drop me a line next time you have that holiday.
Yes, we'll be like, there's Ben. We're celebrating him
Ben.
too. But yeah, I just think like oftentimes people don't. It's like when you push yourself up against the wall, that's actually when you really succeed. Because when you're like halfway doing something, you're like, well, but I have this to fall back on. So I was really proud of Shane because he did like put himself up against the wall, and he's like, okay, I got to figure this out. And then he figured it out really fast and really well because he was motivated by Hartley, our oldest.
And I want to add, kind of going back like to the worst case scenario, some people's worst case scenario might be that they lose their house or they lose their family, or they like, there's some really bad things that could happen, right? Even though when I peeled the layers back, like my worst case scenario was only me having to go get another job. So there could be some instances, but I think the thing to point out is it's never as bad as you think it will be.
Sure.
Most people can save up a few, I'm sure if you had to go to your parents and ask them for $10,000 to make the next couple months payments, like they would be more than happy to help you out, right? To get back on your feet and choose something else. So I think a lot of people, a lot of people don't, a lot of people think it's a lot worse than it really is, taking that leap. And I think that's something that Andrea and I always try to do. Yeah, we have our businesses, but when we talk to people that want to be entrepreneurs, it's you have to be able to take the leap educatedly. Is that a word? Educatedly. But it's never as bad as you play it out in your head to be. And that's what I loved about Andrea. Like I was saying, she already had that entrepreneurial spirit, and she was able to help me see that side of it, that I felt comfortable to be able to take that leap, which was really cool.
Power couple.
But
zing right there. And audience, next time you're going to use the word calculated, say educatedly. Just remember that.
Educatedly.
Calculated.
Oh,
it's a
no.
new word.
Educatedly. We're done with anything else.
I'll take it.
I love it.
I'll coin that word all day.
TM.
And here's the thing. So like you use it in the context of making the jump from a W-2 to entrepreneur. But that exercise of going to the darkest place and working your way back, it helps you in other big decisions that may seem daunting. It's a good skill to practice. What it does is it helps you to see where your blind spots might be. So my partner, Callan, I had him do this with me this week, where we got a sticky situation we're dealing with. I'm like, hey, I need you to be like my sounding board, and I need you to be the person that sees like my blind spots. I want you to make sure that I'm doing everything I could be doing so that I can sleep at night. Because if you avoid problems, then they start to paralyze you. But if you confront them and go through that exercise, hey, here's like my biggest problem right now. And maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a mentor or just a friend. You say like, hey, I want to go through this bad scenario with you. I want you to check me for blind spots, and then we'll work our way out of it so that I can basically like act. Because once you know where your blind spots are, what the worst case scenario is, you can put your head down and go back to work.
Totally.
So I really like that, man.
Thanks.
I love that,
It's been, and we've had to use it quite a few times in our marriage too, of different decisions, do we buy this business? Do we put all of our effort here, And it's always been something that we come back to. And like I said, Andrea is really good at being able to pull herself away from the situation and really think of it logically and see all sides of the coin, which is really a good skill that she has.
Let's talk about the pivots. Now, we talked about you pivoted to luxury real estate. That's kind of your niche. And you just pivoted from Live Big Little Girl to the Live Big Collective. Mm-hmm. And I think now's the time I want to dive into the acronym and let's pick this apart. Let's go deep. Pick up your mic just 'cause I want people to hear this loud and clear.
I'm like listening.
I got your back.
Thank you.
I think it's okay. Just there, right? You already have it. It's fine.
Okay.
So you just made this pivot from Live Big Little Girl to the Live Big Collective, and talk about the focus that you have, and maybe dive into that acronym that Shane teased us with earlier.
Yeah. So you want me to talk about the pivot as well? Or
I want to hear it because
hear it all. Okay.
Live Big Little Girl, the name kind of gives away, but you could tell us about that. But I want to hear you refocused, you pivoted, and I think you had a reason for doing that. And I want to hear that too.
Okay, yeah. I'll try and keep it short and sweet because that's just, how all the things happen.
It's years of effort and thought.
Yes, exactly. So I actually, a few years ago, I went to the MW3 conference. I don't know if you went to that. It was up in Utah County. But I remember most of the time there's usually, whenever I go to a business conference, it's like 95% men and 5% women, right? And I'm used to that. And so anyway, I'm looking around at all these men, and I don't know if God was just highlighting all these different, talks and stuff, but it kept feeling like there was a theme of all these successful entrepreneurs, the men, talking about their wives and what an impact it had on their business and all that support. And I remember specifically Kalani Sitake talking about his wife, and he's like, I would not be the head football coach at BYU if it wasn't my wife. And he told this story and all the things, and I'm just looking around and I'm like, look at all these men, successful, amazing men. And I bet a lot of them are more successful or less successful, either way, because of the impact of their spouses if they're married, and it just caused me to think about that for a while. So that was my first taste of God just being like, hey, here's an idea, And so anyway, fast forward, I started a podcast called Beyond the Boardroom, Her Story, where I interview entrepreneurial couples. And I want to hear her side of the story. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's so fun to hear. It's
so engaging.
Totally.
Someone really wants to hear that because you think of a successful guy and you can type in their name.
Totally.
And you hear
a million podcasts.
I try to make an effort to listen to someone's podcast before they come on and try to okay, let me think of something to throw them a new curveball or I don't want to hear their origin story over and over.
Totally.
I want to dig in, but if you have their wife and you're hearing her side of the story,
it's the full picture.
It's a really cool dynamic. Just being there, listening to it, it's amazing.
Totally. And I've learned so much I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So that was, again, kind of the first little God wink, God whisper, like, okay, this is what you should do. So anyway, I felt like I should transform my whole business. So that's one side of it. The other side of it, I had students all over the country, business coaching, life coaching, all virtual, all over the country. And it was just women. And we would meet up. I'd have these big events where we'd meet in person. So we've done like Disneyland and Costa Rica and Destin, Florida. And then we've done smaller like St. George and Provo retreats.
I
and
identify
stuff like
as a girl.
But yeah. Yeah. They're so fun. Well, Shane came to the Costa Rica one and it was like 17 women and Shane. It was literally like The Bachelor. But anyway, but every time we would meet up, all the Utah girls ended up being like best friends because there would be the most from Utah because I live in Utah, right? And they just become friends. And still to this day, I see it all over Instagram. They're like hanging out, bringing their kids to, the park together. But then I had students all over where I'd be so sad that like they didn't have this support in person. So that was the other piece of it is I was like, man, I think I need to niche down specifically to Utah, like just in Utah, because I think virtual support is awesome, but there's something about like the best friends that you build with people who get what this life is like. And so, I'm coming up on this month was a year that I changed to the Live Big Collective, but I just felt it was hard to let these students go. I mean, I had completed my offer with them and everything, but you end up becoming so close with the people that you coach, right? So now the Live Big Collective, to give you a broader picture of what that looks like, is I brought on all these different coaches because I realized as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I want to go all in with my business coach, all these things. But a lot of the wives of the entrepreneur are like, oh, I don't really need like deep coaching. I just want to like dabble. So I brought in a parenting coach and our fitness and macros coach and a spirituality and mindset coach, a body love coach, a budgeting coach, and then I'm a life as an entrepreneur coach. So if they want to talk about a business or start a business or they're involved in their husband's business, whatever that might look like, I help them, but then they get access to all of these coaches. And so they get private coaching, they get training as a whole, and then I bring in once a month amazing guest speakers that could really help the members, right? And then we have a theme for the month and we do a girls' night that goes with that theme. So this last month it was Bloom Where You're Planted. And so we did, like a plant potting class and like learned how to keep our plants alive and, just different things like that. Right. And then retreats twice a year. And we do a lot of other surprises and happy mail and
you take care of your group. I know
yes,
that.
It's so fun. So just, I guess to wrap that up, I just felt like God kept being like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then it was 180 degrees different than what I had started out with. But that happens so often in business, where you're like, oh, I think I'm doing this, but then you just take action, messy action, and just start and go. And then you're like, oh, I'm actually going to pivot. And then you end up almost a totally different place than where you started, So that's where I'm at right now, where I'm just like, hey, God, tell me what to do every day. And it changes all the time, but just following that little push every day. So
I love the messy action, both in business and with my wife.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love you. We got that.
So what are the things that these women are coming to you with? Like, give me like a scenario of something that is a hurdle that they are trying to push through. Cause I mean, if there's a demand that people are paying you for coaching, like what does that look like?
Totally. I would say oftentimes they're not necessarily coming to me for coaching. They're coming for the community. And that's what I'm really building are other women who get it, because I think oftentimes what I find is women will have their same friends, right? But then all of a sudden your business and your life takes off and you're making a ton of money all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but a lot more money than like maybe your family or original friends have like experienced. And then all of a sudden you have these big wins with your husband, but like you can't share it with anyone else because it feels like you're bragging. Or the opposite, like the hard times, you can't talk about those either because since you have money now, everyone just thinks, oh, you have it all figured out. And so then it becomes really lonely. And you're like, okay, well, I can't talk about my good times and I can't talk about my hard times. But in the Live Big Collective, there's room for both. Like you're able, other people who get what this life is like, and supporting, especially if you're the one at home, you're the CEO of the home running a household while your husband is growing his empire. That's a hard place to be in. Yeah. And again, everyone thinks you have it all figured out because you're good at it. Right. And so I see that happen a lot. And so I think they're more coming for the community, but then they're like, oh, I'd like some self-development too. And like now it's scheduled, right? Now there's a scheduled girls' night, or now there's private coaching, or now there's this training, whatever it is that like really helps like further your mind, and that you don't always have to just be the supporter, that like you are important to take care of and grow in all the ways as well. Yeah. So I do that through the Live Big Morning principles to live by. There's lots of things that I teach that it's like, hey, you can do it all, and you have a support of other women who really get what this life is like, which it's really unique. There's not a lot of us out there. So
it's definitely something that we've experienced firsthand. Like, as our life scales, you definitely have a hard time, getting past maybe society's stigmas, right?
Totally.
And feeling okay about hiring cleaners, hiring nannies, right? Yes. Like you've had a lot of practice with that.
Totally.
But I mean, what advice would you give to someone who's like experiencing that, trying to scale their life as the CEO of the home?
Yes.
But maybe feeling like a little uncomfortable with that.
Totally. I think the biggest thing actually does go back to the Live Big Morning of like centering yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, because everyone around you is going to judge you one way or another. And so not everyone around you, but it feels that way, right?
Anytime you leave the house, you open yourself up to that.
Totally. Exactly. And so I think when you're centered and grounded and like, for me, I think I teach on that your gut is a different function than your heart. That's a different function than your mind. And for me, it goes up to God. So it's like when all of those are in alignment, and it's literally in a line, then you're able to make decisions and be confident in whatever that is. If I were to be like, Ben, I hate your blue hair, you'd be like, I don't have blue hair. So it doesn't like affect you, right? But if someone were to be like, oh man,
think of a real dig you can make at me.
Oh, I can't even think of one.
True.
No. But if I were to be like, Emily, I can't believe you're getting a nanny, or whatever it is, like you don't even work, or whatever it is. Like then all of a sudden, it goes back to the blue hair thing. Like if there's something inside of you that is, oh, I'm not sure, maybe I do have blue hair, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But if you're totally in a line with that, then it's just water off a duck's back. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like, you show up differently because you're totally in alignment with your own decisions. So I think that's that really helps.
You basically, if you're at peace with it, then you have some armor.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like, you can think whatever you want at that point, and I'm happy for you.
You're proactive. You're not reacting what other people care about.
Totally.
Right? Okay. So a lot of people come to you for the community, which by the way is genius to build a community that doesn't have to drain your battery. It can almost form as its own ecosystem.
Yes.
So note taken, like building a community is awesome. But for the people that do come to you maybe for coaching, or like, what are your do's and don'ts for people that are acclimating to maybe a high octane entrepreneurial life?
Yeah.
And how do you help husbands and wives stay equally yoked?
Those are both such good questions. I would say the first part is I teach principles to live by. And so it's actually your own do's and don'ts. So for example, my first one is I leave people better than I found them. I pretend like everyone has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. So when I show up, whether I'm like hiring or firing someone, that plays through my head. Oh, I need to make sure I leave them better than I found them. Or it's the little tiny things where going through the grocery store, even when I don't feel like talking to anyone, or I'm just like so burned out or whatever, I'm like, well, my principle to live by is I leave people better than I found them. So all of a sudden I'm like, hey, how's your day going? Or, whatever. I like ask things even when I don't feel like it. So I think the do's or don'ts when I'm coaching is helping everyone come up with their do's or don'ts, like what's most important to you. And then when I'm coaching them, I'm saying, okay, you want to make this decision. Let's go back to your principles to live by that we did very first. And you're going to filter through this because you say this is the life that you want, but so many times people make different choices. And then all of a sudden it's so distanced from what they said that they wanted, you know?
You got to change one.
Yeah.
Either change what you're doing or
change the priority.
Leave that open. Like if you want to change what you want to live by, like tell me.
You got to adjust that. Yeah, I love that. I actually have never put that together like, oh, then change the principle to live by. I'm normally like, oh, you're not doing what you said you wanted, but I like that.
Pick or
like
choose,
one or the
right?
other.
One's got to give.
One or the other.
Totally, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Finish.
Oh, I was going to answer the other question. So if you had something. Yeah.
That's
okay. Right. I would say like helping entrepreneurial couples be equally yoked does go back to principles to live by of saying, so I always challenge, do your own principles to live by, have your husband do his principles to live by, and then do one as a family, and then see how you can support each other in that. Oftentimes what happens is the woman becomes in their own self-development even. They're like, well, I'm not making money, so the return on investment on me is not as important as it is on you. And what I have found that when entrepreneurial couples invest in the wife, it's actually investing in both. And so it's really interesting because there's tons of statistics out there that when your wife or spouse in general is supportive of what you're doing, you are X amount more successful, right? And I think we could all look at our own lives and say, oh my gosh, I'm way more successful because Shane supports me in everything that I do, right? And I hope he feels the same way back. And so it's like, okay, how can I make sure that like both are investing in themselves? And when it's uneven, it's kind of hard to keep growing when one, and it could be it could be the opposite, that the wife is doing all this self-development and the husband's kind of stuck. But either way, if you're able to say, hey, ask a quality question, say, hey, babe, like I really want to support you in what's exciting to you. Like, how could I support you better? Is actually going to raise both of your self-development, if that makes sense.
100%.
And I would add, we're not like for that example you just did, we are very opposite. We have a lot of things that we've grown to like to do together. But like I love the outdoors. I love hunting and fishing. And she didn't do that growing up. She was in the outdoors, but she didn't do that stuff growing up. So when like just the other night, it was date night, and she thought of like what went through her mind was, what could we do for date night that Shane would like? And I thought that was really thoughtful to do, right? Because it wasn't like, well, what should we go do? What do we both like to do? What does Shane like to do? Because that's I know really nice. If his glass is full, that helps my glass be more full as well. And
so we went fishing.
So we went fishing, yes. And
Did you catch them?
We actually
didn't catch anything that night.
Got some other people's line that they left in the water.
But you learned that a bad day of fishing beats a good day of anything else.
But I think it's really, that's right. That's true. But I think that's really good. You asked to like keep couples, how do you keep couples equally yoked? I think it's thinking of the other person. and trying to buoy up the other person is really what will help both of them be equally yoked. Right?
Yeah. So smart. You guys, I love this because whenever Lauren has like a girls trip, like she has one at the end of the month, she's like, these girls want me to go on a girls trip. I'm like, go, you better go.
Yes.
She's like, geez, why are you so excited? You want to get rid of me? I'm like, no, because I know that you need a break.
Yes.
Like give me the kids for a while. Like don't micromanage me as a parent. Like you go, I'll handle them, you know?
Yes.
And yeah, so what? I'm going to let them sleep in the bed with me and like other bad habits. It's like, you need to go be with your friends on a beach. And like, cause I believe your principles you're teaching, which is like, you come first. You're more than a mom. You're more than like just here for us, which she's serving so selflessly all the
Lauren's
time.
amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, and just like, geez, you want me gone that bad? I'm like, no, I want you fulfilled that bad.
Yes.
And that's why it's like, I'm so eager to like, hey, let's plan it out. You want to go on girls trips? You need more time? Let's hire cleaners. Let's hire nannies. Like let's do it so that, and this is what I tell her, and this is what I would also say, like, you're the coach for women. But this is my 2 cents for women. Is like, obviously it's a privilege of like having a comfortable lifestyle that affords this. So go build it. Right. But this is honestly, we're not like, especially for me, like I'm not building, you saw my car in the driveway. It's like, we don't have watches. We don't have the cars. Like I want passive income for the ability to like empower my wife and myself. And so I'm building this out. So it's like, honey, you have time to hire a nanny the whole week, every week. So work your way back, and however much time you choose to be with the kids, that's like your choice. You could you could do something else for 10, 20, 30 hours a week, and you can feel grounded and centered with that. And everyone's going to support you. Right. So I feel like it's a huge motive for me to have resources, is so that like when I'm with my kids, it's because I choose to be. And same with Lauren, like when she's with our kids, it's because she chooses to be. It's a little different when you have like a breastfeeding infant, but when your kids are weaned and like they are right now, it's like you put your wife in the driver's seat and say like, look, you build out your schedule.
What's your dream life? Yeah.
What hours do you want to nanny? Like, do you want to have a hobby or a business for 10, 20 hours a week? And I think you're a great example of like, you probably, I don't know how many hours a week you spend on your business, but it's not, you're not like selling 20. Your soul for it. It's 20, right? And I've seen that in a lot of high-powered women, that they have really lucrative businesses. You can be a multi-millionaire on 20 hours a week. Yep. And I think we learned that through practice. Like for me, this is my rant here, but like I had to sell out and do every part of the business for so many years before I realized, oh, I can scale and pull back. I've kind of turned that corner. Now I could run a big business on 20 hours a week if I wanted to. Obviously I choose to put my foot on the gas, but like if I wanted to just scale back and stabilize, I could do it on 10 hours a week. And I think that's a misconception a lot of women have, is like, I can't do this hobby, or I can't do this business, I can't do anything big on 20 hours a week, when you can go super big on 20 hours a week.
Well, and in fact, I've seen it gives you a box to have to be creative in, and it helps people scale faster because they have to outsource.
Forces you
because
to
they're
scale.
like, okay, if I'm not going to sacrifice, if I'm giving 20 hours a week and I'm not going to sacrifice this, and this, here are the parameters, then all of a sudden you become really creative with your business, because you're like, I'm not giving that time up with my kids. I'm not giving up date night. I'm not giving up, all of these things. And then it's crazy how much you can grow from that, because you're like, here are my parameters. Where I almost think, going back to your point at the beginning, where, when you're single, it's almost like, well, I'll just do it all myself and all these things. It's a blessing to have these parameters, because 10x is easier than 2x talks about like this idea of all of a sudden you have 3 options of how to get there instead of 27 of like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get there, you know? So I think that it's a blessing to have these parameters for yourself, you know?
I love it. I just like, it's a skill I wish everyone could realize is like, do what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like delegate everything else. And for me, what I want to do is I want to be with my wife and kids. I want to be with my friends. I want to be in those relationships and experiences. And then I want to go build my empire. So I do the chores once a week, just pick one morning every week to like simply as like almost a charade to show, like I actually do the chores, like I get stuff done, but it's not because it's what I want to do, or it's not like what the most productive thing is. It's just to show Lauren like, hey, I'm still willing to like do the chores and show you that. And she always just, it always turns her on, you know, we call it chore play, but it's literally just that. It's literally just like a facade.
Yes.
Like I'm not doing it cause I think it's valuable or anything. It's just, this makes her happy. But like, for me, it's like, I'll delegate that all day, every day, because if I'm not working and I've created something big enough where when I am working, I can afford to pay for help, right? If I'm not working, I want to be with the people. I want to be with my kids or my friends or my wife.
Totally.
So, I mean, I just want women to see that if you can support your husband or build something, you know, on your own, that affords you that, you can then do the same thing without having to worry about the tradition of having to be a mom every waking second or having to, you know, do every chore in the house.
Traditional roles. Yeah.
It's a tragedy, like, especially if you have the means to do it and you choose not to, because I don't know. I just feel like you want to live a little bit bigger, and there's ways that you can serve and create value to where you don't have to feel bad about it.
Totally. And then there's some people that like, they want to, and they love that. And then all of a sudden that's you living big as well, because you're actually doing what you want to be doing. Like I have a friend who loves to organize and clean, and I'm like, you go girl. Like, that's so awesome. But then it's like taking ownership of that and saying, no, this is actually what I want to do. There's like a vibrational level. Exactly. Yeah. Like there's a vibrational level that changes at that point, because you're like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to. And I have the option to outsource it, but I'm choosing not to. And now I get to do this. And so then it even, you live big in that way.
Yeah. And like a great example is like Lauren loves to cook and she loves to go shopping. I'm like, hey, you know, we could do meal prep if you want.
Yes.
You know, we could like order that in. Yeah. I think she's coming around to the whole like picking up the groceries thing. But
if that brings her joy,
exactly,
fulfillment,
but don't say I want to do XYZ with my time, and then go do this. Like if you're cooking and shopping, like own it. Like you want to do it, and that's okay. That is living big for whoever wants that, right? Or the cleaner, right? Who likes doing that hands. It's like some people, it's how they calm down from their stress, right?
Totally.
So what's like, you have this group, they're accomplishing amazing things. Like what's next for you guys? Like pausing now and looking to the future. What's the Wilde family got in the horizon? Yeah. Both of you guys.
What's in the future, babe?
Do you want to say our 40 goal?
Yeah.
You say it. I've done a lot of talking. You should talk about this.
Well, we have a goal. When did we come up with it?
Maybe like a year or two ago.
Yeah. And we were just kind of like, okay, well, what's next? I mean, as entrepreneurs, you're always setting goals or whatever. And we're both 34 years old right now. And we're like, man, we're kind of getting old. Our kids are growing up. Whatever.
We have a almost 6 and
3-year-old.
You guys they're exaggerating. You guys are like, you guys look younger than me.
I still feel like 20, like I'm 22 years old.
Yeah, same.
But we obviously are always have these big hairy goals that we really are disciplined to try and get, and some goals we get, some goals we don't, and that's just part of it. But we have this one goal. We call it 40 by 40. We want to earn $40 million by our 40th year. So 40 by 40. And that's kind of like our we would hope to be able to surpass that, but that's like what we have our sights on. So we know it's almost, I mean, if we were going, at first we were like, well, do we go net worth? Like, is our net worth that? Are we making that?
I honestly, that's what's going through my head is like, what's the measuring?
What's the,
But
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
40 in a year.
Right. Yeah. So 40 in a year is quite a bit. Right. And we obviously have to be hitting the ground running now to be able to do some really cool things in that year.
Right.
And so right now, I mean, the target is like trying to grow your net worth by about $600,000 a month to be able to hit to be able to have enough to be able to, right? You're just kind of reverse engineering that goal. So that's huge. And to my brain is like, shut off. That sounds way too big. But really, when you break it down and everything, we feel very confident that we can do that. So not that money's the end goal, but we really have attached ourselves to that 40 by 40 and feel like at that point we'd really be able to make some waves.
Well, and I also think going back to the parameters we were talking about, where it's like we're not willing to sacrifice certain things, because you could sacrifice a ton and get there way faster. But for us, it's like our time with our girls, our time freedom. We follow like our schedule pretty regularly throughout the week, stuff like that. That it's like we both don't work full time. We want to make sure like we're investing. Right now, we're trying to get investments that are passive income will make that number work, you know? And so I think it's cool because it's like a game, you know, to just figure out like, okay, what can we do in order to make these things happen? I mean, there's a lot of people that make a lot more than 40 million a year, but for us, that's like, it's a big goal for us, and, like fun to figure out like how we're going to do that within the parameters of like the work-life balance, you know?
Yeah. So I'm in real estate. Andrea's in coaching, and both of them, we have some awesome things coming in the future. For real estate, we have some really cool development projects going on. My goal is to partner with you on a few things.
Let's go.
I'll
get you there.
Yes.
I think that is definitely in the works, that we'll have that partnership like we've talked about. Andrea has some really cool things coming online in the next couple months, but also in a couple years as well, with some really cool technology coming out. One thing that's changed both of our businesses is AI. We've really tried to implement AI into both of our businesses, and every day it just blows my mind on what it can do, and we're always trying to stay on the latest trends and stuff. So we'll see, but we're super stoked for what's to come.
Yeah,
I love it, you guys. I think obviously like the dollar amount goal is a means to an end. Like I know you're not chasing the almighty dollar. You're chasing that life that it's going to bring you, the person it's going to turn you into. And that is really exciting. And it can be daunting to set a big goal, a number goal like that. But if you just like, if you realize it's a hockey curve growth, right? Like you don't have to make $600,000 more in the first month. Because you're going to have a hockey curve. Like those last couple years of that 6 years should be like, you'll be making more than that every month. And so it's really fun because we have similar goals and similar like things going on. And I think it is cool that you have both businesses that you can have, you know, they both are, you know, they have different things that help scale and also downsides too, right? Like real estate is super scalable, but on the like agent side, it's like you can only be in one place at once, so you got to do bigger deals, which is why you're luxury.
Yeah.
And on the coaching side, like what's gonna be implemented to scale that?
Yeah. I can't tell you too much yet, but I think memberships, I'll hint at it, but memberships that are more approachable for all over the country.
Ooh, okay. So Utah was the niche, but maybe
like that's the in-person stuff.
There's some hope for people outside of Utah.
There's some hope to get back.
People that have been clawing at getting back in your ecosystem, they might have some hope.
Yep. So trying to, I feel like right now it's like niching and building what we are, and then maybe we'll go to Arizona or Nevada, or I'm from Oregon, and so I don't know down the road, but I think earlier than that, my hope is to be able to help again all over the place. But
what's virtually. You do an amazing job, both of you. I was going to say both of you do an amazing job with content and branding. I saw your golf reel.
Yeah,
that
Shane's
ran
freaking
wild.
blowing up recently.
But Shane did a reel where it's like, tell him what it is. It really resonated with me.
And it resonated with the rest of America.
With the rest of America, went crazy. I did this reel, and it was just a voiceover, or it was the voice of another guy who was screaming in excitement, right? And so I did it. I was in bed. I had my golf clubs in my head or in my hand, and I pulled the covers over, and it's just like chuckling, like so excited, and the punchline was essentially like how excited you were, or what you look like when you have a tea time scheduled the next morning. Yeah. And
but it's like an obnoxious really audio, and Shane did
very obnoxious. It involved me screaming at the top of my lungs.
Awesome.
Anyways, it was all over the place, and a lot of people really liked that one.
Yeah.
It's so relatable because it's so hard to get up for the gym or for work, but you pop right out of bed for a tea time.
Yeah.
And you're like looking at the tea times for the next day, and you're like, oh, there's no tea times but the 5:30. Oh, it's an easy decision.
Like no worries.
Yeah, like who cares? Anyways,
maybe I need to do more golf reels.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about how golf is going to be where you make all that. Most of that 40 million is going to be made on the golf course.
Yeah, totally.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I digress because I just got a kick out of that. But you guys have been putting a ton of effort into branding, and I wanted to ask you, Andrea, like, what is the key to success to get people to buy into a community? Because it's not an easy task to get a mastermind or a community or coaching program going. Yeah.
I love the book Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. He talks about creating a culture, a cult-like following. And I think that actually is something that I've been able to, I did Mary Kay for 10 years. I did hair for 10 years. And then now with the Live Big Collective, it's like just gathering good people, I think. I would say what's helped me with that is like thinking of like who would love each other. Does that make sense? Like, oh, so-and-so, I actually could connect you with this person. And like, I love being that person for people to be like, oh, and I feel like you just did that for me like a month ago with Christy, and you're like, hey, I have someone I need you to meet. Like, to me, I think that just creates like really strong like friendships, because it's like, if you're really trying to serve your people, it's like, how could you benefit? Or like, hey, I know you're both in this community, but like, you guys should totally be friends because of this, and this, and just like looking for ways to help people. I think that has been so fun. And I think that just helps whatever you're doing. And then it's crazy how often someone else wants to do that back for you. And I'm not even doing that intentionally, but then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you did that for me. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that for you. So then they'll invite people to my community and be like, Andrea's the best. I love this, whatever. And you're like, oh, thanks. Like, I really appreciate that. So I don't know if that helps anyone else out there, but I think when you just try to serve your people, then all of a sudden it just like snowballs. You're like, oh my gosh, this is blowing up. I had no idea that would happen. Yeah.
That's something that Andrea's really good at, is really serving her people. Like she'll, I think she mentioned it earlier, she'll send like happy mail all the time. She's always thinking of her girls and what they would like, or she'll see something at the store and she's like, oh, I think they would love this, and she'll send it to them. Or every time we're on vacation, she's like, oh, and we could get this for this girl and this for this girl. And anyway, she's just very good at thinking about her people rather than thinking about the price tag of her people. Does that make sense?
I like that.
And I think that's why she is successful in what she does, is it's not about the price tag. Obviously she has to charge to keep the lights on, but it's about the people, helping them feel like they're a part of something bigger, because she can do that. But if she can get them around other people that are like-minded and help them see the vision, I think that's like where the ultimate power comes from.
Totally.
Yeah, the three words that popped in my head, obviously you have to deliver the value, but I was thinking brand, niche, and team, right? Like you've done really well with the brand. It's clear, like the avatar that would be attracted to your brand. You niche down. It's like first niche was just women that you were empowering. Then you niche down again, which I think is really hard to do for entrepreneurs, because you want to serve everyone and you want to have a really wide net. I know it's really tough for me to niche down, but you've done it well. And then you also have the team, right? You're just connecting, so you don't have to. You're the facilitator, and you have a lot of value that you provide personally, but you have a pretty good team, it sounds like.
An amazing team.
That helps you shoulder the weight of a community that's going to, keep blowing up.
Totally. Well, and it's fun because when you build a community, they're just kind of helping each other too. It's not so much like when I was coaching one-on-one, it was always like the individual relationship, but it's almost like just being a gatherer, just be like, hey guys, you're all going to love each other. Like tonight, I'm just so excited for everyone to meet, because I'm like, you're going to love this person and they're going to love you, and you'll all be best friends. And I don't know, it's fun. So
it's exciting for me. I can't wait. I know just one other couple that's coming in, you guys. And so for me, I'm an extrovert, so it charges my batteries to get out.
Let's go.
And honestly, mastermind with the guys is important, and you get a lot of value out of it when you get in a war room with just guys, but it's honestly never as fulfilling as the couples ones, because I feel like I just come home and it's like then you can keep talking about it. Like if I don't bring Lauren, she's on a different page. Like she's always supportive, always magnifying me and what I'm trying to do. But if she's actually there, like we're united. So
I love that.
I can't wait for tonight. It's gonna be a party, awesome. You guys.
You're the best.
Anything. This is the Bigger Life podcast, and usually that's like special. But the Live Big Collective is like, it's a real original idea, right? But maybe just in closing, since it's your name too, and you're part of the Live Big community, like. Share with our audience, like imparting maybe one thing that you do to live big that you hope that everyone would adopt in their life.
Do you want to go first? Okay. I would say living big to me is like looking at what's the biggest priority for you in your life, of all the things that you could possibly be doing. If you're doing what you want to do, that's living big. I know that sounds like really simple, but I really think that, like, kind of going back to what you were talking about before, where there's like there's a level of like when you were talking about like the tea time and you're like, oh, I could wake up at 5:30, like easy.
Yeah.
It's almost like what gets you excited, like that Christmas Eve moment, you know, that you're just like, oh, I'm so excited to wake up tomorrow. To me, that's living big. And even today, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to go down to St. George. So like last night I was thinking about that when I went to bed. I'm so excited. And when I woke up, I'm like excited to get out of bed. And so I think if you don't have that in your life, if there's not, then some things maybe need to change where you're like, oh, I would be willing to wake up early for that, or I'm excited about that. And not every day needs to be Christmas Eve feeling, but more often than not, I feel like you want that to be your life, and that's living big. So that's what I would say.
That's amazing. I think for me, and I actually was thinking about this maybe a couple weeks ago. I really like, I was thinking about the times in my life when I get those like hits of dopamine. And to me, living big is when you get those hits of dopamine, and maybe trying to have a hit of dopamine every day. I'll explain.
Intentionally.
So like just think of like when you're serving someone, right? You go serve someone, you're in your car, close the door, you turn on the music, and you're like, I feel great.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like that hit of dopamine. You're like, I did something meaningful today, you know? And that in that moment definitely is living big. Other things of I hit this goal, or I just closed a deal today that I never thought. I had all the signs of going south, and we finally closed it. Like that's a huge hit of dopamine that maybe you wouldn't feel otherwise, right? Or maybe you, like this week I had an impression to send a text to someone, and so I sent it to him, and he wrote me this really long, cool text back, and that was like a hit of dopamine to me coming back. I was like, this was awesome. Coming back. Anyway, so I think living big is like trying to find those things. Maybe it's not just the mundane of what you do, like finding those things that really just hit every day, that give your life purpose, like what Andrea was talking about, that really make your life a life, rather than wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, and do it all over again, right? I think it's the things that just switch it up and that give you life, I think is what I try to do. And I don't think we've ever talked about that brain or that mindset of doing that, but I think it just hit me this week that those hits of dopamine are super important to our lives.
And it's cool that like most of those are choices, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to choose to serve someone. And Shane is so good at that. Like half the time I'll be like, wait, where's Shane? And he's like doing all the neighbors, you know, it's the middle of summer right now, but, in the winter, he's clearing all the snow on all of our neighbors, or, you know, I think that's cool that like, it's like, what do you need to do to find that fulfilling life? And it's a choice. It's not like, you know, we'll see what comes up today. It's like, what can I do or think or like be drawn to?
What I'm hearing from both of you is don't waste a second living an unfulfilled life, right? Like if you need to make an adjustment if you need to make a sacrifice that's painful, like do it so that you have every day be the life that you're living on your own terms, right? And that has a lot of weight. Like I try to live by that, and I try to do exercises so that I'm living life on my own terms. Maybe it's painful, maybe I have that scar on my foot, maybe I have my blood, sweat, and tears, but this is life on my own terms. This is my calculated risk. This is what I want to be doing, and correcting whenever you need to. But I think you both said the same thing in a very articulate, different way, which is, you know, make sure that every moment is what you were made to be doing. I think that goes deep on a lot of levels. Intentional.
Make sure every moment is educatedly thought out.
Yes.
Very educatedly. Hey,
Exactly.
I grew up in a small town.
No.
And sometimes all of our
It makes
words
more
just get,
sense, honestly.
mumble
We didn't do any
jumble.
Portland jabs.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
So
lots of Portland
we'll save
jabs,
that
yeah.
for the
We can-
bloopers.
That'll be
two.
the after party.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say, Ben, I think you're really good at that. Like every interaction I've had with you, you're like, let's go. You like bring the life of the party. You bring that energy. And it's so fun to be around because I think it goes back to surrounding yourself with other people who are like that. Like all of a sudden it raises your capability to live bigger. Right. And so I really appreciate you for that because you're a really good example. And we've talked about this. We're like, we love Ben and Lauren. Like we want to hang out with you guys more because you are that way. So thank you for being an influence in our life.
Yeah.
But to everyone who's even listening to this podcast or does business with you or friends with you, any sort of relationship, I think you're doing that like full time. So
Be careful. You guys might get your wish. I think, you're very, very kind. I think I'm just a kid at heart. Are you kidding me? Like talking business, mastermind, Chipotle, and pickleball. I would literally do it every single night I'm just a kid.
I love that.
I'm not like that. You're very generous, but I just like to have fun. And
you're awesome.
I want to live the bigger life. I want it. I want
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
you guys. So great job being examples. I think there was bombs that our audience got dropped on them of just wisdom, little reality checks that are like we know it, but we need to hear it again, and also some brand new thoughts. So thanks for coming on and thanks for living the bigger life.
Thanks.
Thank
man.
you for having us. You're amazing.